How is everybody doing? And welcome back for another Strength Chat episode. Today, I have got a very special guest for you all. Today, I'm joined by a three-time European powerlifting champion. First woman to squat over 300 kilos. I watched it live. It was absolutely epic. Today, I am joined by the one and only Muluh Sonita. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well, thank you.
Thanks a lot for taking the time to jump on, and I know you've had a couple of competitions over the last couple of months. Fresh from the Europeans a couple of weeks ago as well. How are you getting on? What's been happening in your world? How have you been getting on with everything?
I think everything is going okay at the moment, but after Sheffield, it took me a bit of it was a deep. So
Yeah.
it's like the higher you climb, the harder you fall. So that was like Sheffield was a big thing, and it took me quite some time to like get back into training. But before Euros, really, I was still struggling to get back into training. I was quite detrained before Euros. And my goal for years was just to get like momentum for my training, just enjoy training again. And that is since then it's been going very well.
Yeah. And body feeling okay. How was it feeling going into Euros?
I still deal with the same thing that I've been dealing with since last year, like a calf injury, which seems not to go. It doesn't want to go away. And I had like also from last year a burnout on my shoulder from work. And but those are the same things. So my everything else is good. I still can train on my calf as long as I don't constantly hit depth. It only hurts when I go into when I hit depth, of course. That is like much a lot of pressure in the calf. But apart from that, I'm okay.
Yeah. Oh, cool. And I know I did a little bit of a brief introduction there, but for everyone listening who might not know your background in terms of how you got involved in powerlifting, the accomplishments that you've done so far, just want to give a little bit of a background to yourself.
Well, I am Muluh Sonita. I'm powerlifter from Belgium. I live in Belgium, and I'm 27. And yeah, uh from Cameroon originally. So
Yeah. How did you get involved in powerlifting?
well, it started as a hobby. I mean, in general, I was losing weight, or I would say I was trying to maintain the weight that I lost in 2019, and I just wanted to stay active, do sports or whatever, because I used to be a handball player. But when I finished school and I started working, it was life became difficult, so I quit. I stopped playing handball, and during the space of 2 years, I did gain quite a lot of body weight. So I decided in 2019 to lose weight. And then after that, like towards ending 2019, I wanted to like just be active, stay active because I was down to the body weight that I wanted to be at. But also I knew that if I didn't stay active, I might still, gain weight again. And so that is how I heard about powerlifting. And then I got a coach. I started following a program in 2020, and yeah, and that is how it started. And
Yeah.
literally before that, I didn't know what powerlifting was. It's literally like in November 2019, where before I had like this, we were supposed to go on vacation for my birthday, and I heard what powerlifting was. I was like, well, it wasn't much because I only heard it was squat, bench, and deadlift. I'm like, it wasn't much, but I
Yeah.
want something that I can stay active, but not too much, So, and that sounded like a good plan for me. So,
Yeah. Oh, nice. And how did you feel? Because I like to ask that question about how you get involved, how people get involved in powerlifting. How did you, having never heard of? Because I think sometimes if people don't haven't heard of powerlifting before or have maybe not involved in it, it can be come across quite intimidating. Lifting heavy weights and anything like that. How did you kind of find stepping into that environment and going to your first couple of competitions compared to then competing at Sheffield this year.
I would say I was never intimidated by the weight. I think because the person that told me about powerlifting was my ex, and he also did. always believed I was way stronger than I thought I was. And so when he told me what powerlifting was, I remember I went to the gym just to like try. I never squatted before, never lifted or bench press anyways. So I didn't like bench press from the get-go. So when I did the try, it was before we traveled actually, literally it was like during the 23rd or 20th of November 2019. And I remember we just went to a Basic Fit, which is a commercial gym that is not far from us here. And yeah, I tried out squats, and I remember deadlifting. I didn't even know what I was supposed to do, and I pick up the weight, and I stood up and asked like, "Is this how I'm supposed to do it?" He's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Okay." But
Nice.
that was hilarious. When I look at the videos, it's like literally because I did that was 140 deadlift I was doing, and I literally like just knew I had to pick up the weight and stood up, and I did. But the thing is the fact that it can be intimidating to a lot of people, depending like from my background and being from a Black community. It's also like sort of not. I mean, it's looked down upon, but women that do fitness in general, like you get like those weird comments because it is not a beauty standard for us Black
Yeah.
people. I mean, in Africa, being muscular or being strong as a woman is really not a beauty standard.
Right.
So you get like all those weird comments from men, actually, and women as well,
Yeah.
actually. And but that was I had before then I had like very broad shoulders, and I was always very insecure of them because again it wasn't a beauty standard for me. And so I always like try not to expose my shoulders. So, and I remember talking to my first coach, and I told her like, yeah, I don't really like bench because I'm scared I'm gonna get like my shoulders are already big and they're gonna get bigger. So she was like telling me like that is not how it works. It
Yeah.
takes even if you're gonna get there, it takes a long time to get there. It's not like you just step into the gym and your shoulders become bigger.
Yeah.
So I didn't mind squat or bench, but I didn't mind squat or deadlift, but I really was like not into bench that much. So
Yeah. Yeah.
just because of the, I mean, in the back of my head, I still like knew like, okay, this is gonna, make my shoulders more bigger than ever, and I'm already so insecure about them. So,
Yeah.
but I did my first powerlifting competition when I was like I started in 2020, and I did my first powerlifting competition in February 2020. So that was like a month and a week into powerlifting. And I got my qualifications for European Championship. That was the goal for the competition, and we went for it. And yeah, I did I think 150 squat, 72 and a half bench, and 180 deadlift.
Yeah.
And that got me like to 402.5, which was the minimal for Euros, and that was what we aimed for. So it was like, but I remember after the competition, I was so much in love with the sport. I was like, I just wanted more. It's like, I mean, I was sold after the first competition.
Yeah, yeah, nice. I think you do get everyone I've spoken to, whether it be other coaches or other powerlifters, they do kind of catch that powerlifting bug because it's unlike anything else. Me coming from a rugby background, it's a completely different environment. With that, in terms of
I think
your
we
obviously you said there, qualifying for Europe Europeans. How did you from just enjoying it, how did your goals develop over time? Or, have you just been, enjoying the ride? Or have you been like, right, okay, cool. So now I've done this, I want to try and do this? Or how do you kind of work in terms of your goal setting?
I think I am a very competitive person in nature. Like
Oh,
because it
you've
was
gone quiet a
something
little
that
bit there.
was active. Pardon?
Sound back on.
Can you hear me?
Ah, there we go. I can hear you now. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, like I was saying, like I'm a very competitive person in nature. So right from the get-go, when after I went to the gym to test what my 1 rep max were, and I got back home, I remember the first thing I did was I wasn't looking like what is the strongest in Belgium. I searched for the world championships. So I came across a video. Apparently that same year, but I mean, there was the world championship in 2019, and it happened. I mean, and I was like, I came across the video on YouTube because I was searching for videos, because I really had no idea what they were. And I remember watching the competition, and because I was at 83 body weight then, so I was in the 84 category. So I was only watching the 84. I wasn't watching anything else. And I came across a video and I was watching it. I remember I was so impressed by Amanda Lawrence and Daniela Mello, because they had a battle, and I was like so carried on by it. And I remember saying to my, like, that those are my competition. Like,
Yeah.
I was basically not even training in powerlifting yet, but in my mind, I said to myself, like, if those girls can do it, then I can do it as well.
Yeah.
And I went like 100% and 110% all in into it from the get-go. And so I think that is how I am where I am today. So it wasn't like I wasn't one leg in and one leg out. So I was like
Yeah.
body, legs in, head, everything, whole body in. So
Yeah, nice. And with that, obviously, going into that, because sometimes, I like the fact that you said, not just one leg in, one leg out. When you go all in, it's
yeah.
shown that you've seen that progress. How did that kind of impact your confidence going into competitions? And you mentioned there, insecurities about your shoulders. How did that kind of impact your confidence going into competitions, but also outside of the gym as well? How did that impact you?
I think the only thing that I had a switch of mind, or like complete mind change. My first coach, Kathleen, her name is Kathleen. She she saw that I was strong and didn't see it as a bad thing. She thought I was talented.
Yeah.
And me always being the fact that I've always been, because of the way I grew up in poverty, I had to do things. A lot of hard work to survive. So that actually do also, that thing that's part of the reason why I had like very broad shoulders, because of the hard work I did growing up. So, but she always said I was talented. And she never saw someone so talented from the get go, like so strong. So for me, that was what like really helped me, like, get the confidence and see it in a different light. Like, I am not really, I remember after my first competition, I started buying like all these topless clothes where I can like show my shoulders and I can show my back. My confidence had grown. It was like a very short period of time, but my mindset was completely changed. And so all the comments I was getting from my community on Facebook about how it's not good for me, I'm not going to be able to have kids, I'm going to beat my husband up when I get married, and my husband is going to be scared to have a fight with me, and people are going to be scared to get married to me, and all this stuff. It never really got to me,
Yeah.
because by then I already had a switch in my mind, like, this is not like really something wrong. Being strong is also being beautiful, it's also being sexy, it's also being whatever.
Yeah.
So that was like, I am very grateful for her for that, because I remember one day we had like this one-on-one at her gym, and I came out from her gym like feeling like I could just conquer the whole world. so
Do
so
you,
for me, that was like I would say that's like the base of everything for me, like the fact that I had someone that believed in me. And and that really built the base of who I am today.
Nice. And do you think that's why, maybe a little bit of a tangent on this, but do you think that's why, because I know at the minute, I've got a lot of female clients that are getting involved in powerlifting and are really enjoying being strong. And I said, watch the stream on YouTube for Sheffield, for the other competitions, looking at lifters like yourself. Do you think that's probably why people find the powerlifting community really welcoming, and that's how they catch that powerlifting bug? Because it is, as a community, it is quite supported, because we want to see people lift more weight and do well. What's kind of your thoughts on that?
I think it is because I feel like powerlifting is one of the sport where the men, appreciate the women just as much.
Yeah.
I train with the men in powerlifting. I train in the men but with the men in Belgium. Every time I train with them, they make me feel like I am like, it's they don't make me feel any less. It's they
Yeah.
are as impressed as I when I live with, as they are when they see anybody else, Jesus Olivares or William. I mean, they are impressed when I do those things. So I just like makes it like a more of a safe place too for women. So I feel
Yeah.
like that's one of the reasons. It is quite one of the reasons because if you look at it, it's really like the men are very welcoming of the women in the sports, and that is something where I think women want. So it makes it easy for any female to join powerlifting.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that because, like what we said at the start about, it being quite intimidating, but actually, everyone's doing the same lifts, have got similar things in their programs and can go from there. In terms of your own training, maybe like adjustment in technique or programming. Has that changed over time, or is there anything that you've struggled with or specifically worked on to improve technique or make tweaks in terms of your training?
I have gone through three different coaches, and I think my first coach we trained with I think with percentage base, where she gave me the weights, put on the weights on my program where I had to do them. But most of the time for the main exercises, and then for the accessories, I had to be in RPE. But also I mean I have gone from training 3 times a week to 4 times a week to 5 times a week back to 4 times a week. So and going to Joey, which is my coach at the moment, Joey Flex, it's been also like I really cannot say. I feel like because I went from a different weight class to another, also because you're gaining weight, you also have to adjust. Your body has to adjust, you have to adapt and all those things. So it is normal that we did some changes when I went to Joey, because also I went to Joey when I just joined the plus weight class, and that was in 2022. So it's yeah, we have to adapt. I mean, to the situations. So we had to do like I came from wanting to train 5 times a week because I was doing that already. But then Joey put me on the 4 times a week. At first, I'm like, yeah, yeah, I want the 5 times a week. I brought it up like a couple of times, but he's like, no, I think we're good with the four. And then I mean, I saw the progress that I was making being 4 times a week program. I'm like, actually, I don't need the 5 times a week program. So the 4 times a week was doing just fine, and we just did like some. And my stance had to go wider. I got a bit bigger. My stance had to go wider, and I remember that the thing is, I was not really embracing the change that much because I was used to the way I was lifting before, and how close my grip are on squats, and I was used to all of those things. Along the way, it started causing like so much problems for me that because my deadlift also I just kept holding the grip where I used to when I was in 84, and it just don't it's not the same. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got bigger, my legs are bigger, my legs are bigger. I have to adjust, but it took me like to the end of 2022, beginning 2023, to actually start adjusting, like, okay, I need to go a bit wider on this grip because my elbows are killing me.
Yeah.
And I need to go wider on my deadlift, just so I can give myself, my body, or mean can give my arms the means to lock out, because I couldn't push them out at a certain point. I couldn't lock my back out. So it took me to failing deadlift at the European Championships, which would have cost me like everything.
Yeah.
So like kind of like, okay, I need to adjust now. So it took me quite a long time to do that. But
Yeah.
I think it's normal. Like you just try to like hold on to like the ways, like because my deadlift was strong before. So I thought I could only be stronger if I stayed in that same position that I was when I was, in the minus 84 weight class. But that was really not the case. I just really had to, adjust. And yeah, and when my body was growing, I had to adjust to those things.
Yeah, I think sometimes I can, speak for myself and probably the athletes that I coach as well.
Yeah.
Is sometimes you always think change is going to be bad and it's gonna make you worse. Whereas actually, like what you mentioned
Really?
there, adjusting can be a good thing.
What do you
Um,
mean?
the more sort of experience that you've had on the platform and building up to competitions as well, do you prefer just to be told what to do when it comes to competition and training, or have you started to have a little bit of an input in terms of like what you mentioned there between 4 and 5 days, or how do you usually work with training and competition?
For me, in general, I think I trust my coach, and I know like he's doing I mean what he has to do for me to become better, you know. And I think like the moment you start doubting your coach, that's the moment where you start, you know, start trying to look for other means or like do other things, which at the end of the day, like why change a winning team?
Yeah,
I mean, so I trust my coach completely. Sometimes, okay, the thing is being a coach myself helped me understand my programs. And I did take like this workshop from my coach as well, which also helped me understand why he programs what he programs. So for me, if I understand my program, I'm okay.
yeah,
It's if I understand what we're working on, I'm okay. I do what I have to do on my own end. So I think for competition wise, I like being asked how it felt or how it's feeling, especially when I'm on the competition day. Prep, I do whatever I have to do, you know, just to be prepared for it. My coach can only do so much, you know, he can only make the program, but it's my own responsibility as an athlete to do the job, you know, to go
yeah,
to the gym, make sure that all those sessions are dialed in. So at competitions, the only thing that I know is the fact that I like to work with someone that knows me as an athlete.
yeah,
You know, knows. I mean, my coach is an amazing coach, but at the end of the day, he sees my singles and my back downs. You know, he doesn't see like my warm up routines and all those stuff. And but if I have somebody that knows me like that, it's easier for me to work with them.
yeah,
That is how it is for me. It's easy for me to like because if they see the same things that I do in training, if they see that at my warm up at competitions, they'll know like, should we be worried or should we not be worried? But if somebody that doesn't know me and they see me like a little bit, maybe misgroove my last warm up because I'm good at misgrooving my last warm ups,
yeah,
they'll be like, they'll be scared, you know. They'll be like, oh, this is but concerning. But at the end of the day, it's like if you get freaked out and I'm an athlete that is trying to get prepared for a competition, I will be a little bit scared as well. You know, it can also take
yeah,
a bit of me. So I prefer to just in general work with somebody that knows me as an athlete, you know, like very much like how I warm up. And because I am very precise on what I do when I'm training. And you will see a difference if any of those don't align with what I do. So that's why Christoph handles me also most of the time on competition because we train together. He's my partner, and we train together. And I explain when I have a misgroove. He understands when we have to do. I mean, so that is like I feel safe. I feel safer when I know that we're not going to argue about anything when I'm warming up.
yeah, yeah,
And when I come off stage before I want to be asked like how did it feel because I like to also work like with plan A and plan B kind of situations where I can be like, oh, this it didn't feel so well. We can go to plan B, or it felt great. Let's continue on plan A. So all like that is how I like to do things, and it just makes things very easy for me. And also because it comes down to me being a very honest person when I am lifting. I am over honest. I don't go like, oh, it was a misgroup when I just knew that it was, you know, it was a heavy lift. So if I say it was a misgroup, then it's always a misgroup. So that is like also, I mean, it's very handy when he just knows me as a person and as an athlete. And yeah, we work better together like that.
yeah. And I suppose as well, having somebody who, you have in terms of, training together, has got that understanding. It must fill you with confidence going onto the platform that you're not going to be asked different questions that you're not 100% sure on or anything like that.
Yeah, the one thing I hate is coming off the platform and have to debate about what we have to do next. That is, I am a very confidence lifter. I would say when the way I handle my weights, the way I lift, the way I mean, I go on the platform. I am a very confident person lifting wise, and that takes a lot of the stress off me, you know, and it reduces the nerves and all those things. But also, it also can be, I mean, it can impact me the wrong way if I'm coming up the stage where I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to do the third attempt, and then we have to argue about what we're going to do for the third attempt. Some
Yeah,
people,
yeah,
the thing is, some athletes don't want to know, but I want to know.
yeah.
I want to know what
Absolutely.
we're going to put in for second attempts, so I can like, I know how I can get my mental self prepared. I want to know what we're going to put in for third attempts. I just want to know all those things. And it also comes down to the fact that I always handle competition the way I handle my training. Like every main training days for me, I handle them as I handle competition. So it makes it also like super easy for me when I'm at competition. So yeah.
And then, we spoke quite a lot about competitions there, and obviously the big competition that was this year.
Yeah.
How did how did that compare to any other competition that you've done before? What was your experience like at Sheffield?
I think as the year went by, I stopped stressing about competitions. I mean, it felt I felt like it wasn't real until even the day I was there. I was like, maybe I'm still training anyways. But stress wise, I was so calm that I got scared. I'm like, why am I like this? I mean, this is not right. I'm supposed to be sweating my ass off and stressing my ass off. But that's the same thing when I was prepping for the world championship. I keep telling Christoph, like, I am way too calm because this is not how I was in 2022. You know, because I always thought that people always say like experience doesn't make you better. So
Yeah,
I always thought every competition I'm gonna have the nerves, I'm gonna be stressing out like like they want. So I've always thought that. But 2023 was different. And so when Sheffield came around, I was like chill. I was doing I panic a bit. So for my work, I got a burn my shoulder. I burned it out at work, and that was September, and I kept saying, okay, I still have time, it's gonna get better. But because I kept saying now, but time kept passing by, but it wasn't improving. So I got a little bit like, in a panic mood where I'm like, okay, I'm quitting, I'm done with my job.
yeah,
After years, last year I came out, I'm like, I'm not sure about work. I'm like, I'm gonna quit the job because my shoulder is injured at work, so I'm constantly also at home from the doctors and all that stuff. Which at the end of the day, for me, I wasn't making progress at work and I wasn't making progress in training.
yeah,
So I was like, yeah, it's not worth it if I cannot make progress in one of them. And Sheffield is once in a lifetime opportunity. And for me, I was like, I'm going to prioritize Sheffield now. So, and I knew that I still had 2 months. If I stopped immediately, I still had like two blocks where I can, go all in those two blocks because I was literally 2 months out and I was barely doing anything.
yeah,
And the thing is, I got a bit confident a lot after I did the 290 squat in training in November before I traveled. That was 1 week before I traveled to Euros. And so that kind of gave me confidence back because before then I barely trained anything above 260 on squats and deadlift. Everything felt heavy. I had from my work because I was got a lot of my legs. I had like I pull my back and all the stuff in training, just like doing lightweight. I mean, so at the end of the day, for me, it was like, okay, this is not going to work. I did so much work to get my qualification for Sheffield. I'm not gonna let my job mess it up. So I remember when I went to work, we're talking about it. I was like, "This is an easy." I'm sorry, guys, but this is a very easy decision for me to make. I'm not even. I'm not struggling to make this decision. It was like a very easy decision for me to make. So yeah, and those because the thing is, if you're injured and you're in prep, it doesn't get better. If you're injured, normally you need to taper down a bit on intensity and all the stuff and try to work around it. But being in prep and I was 2 months out, I didn't really have time to take a break and be like, I want to let my shoulders heal. So I started training ibuprofen. I mean, it's don't take a fish out of my boot. I don't advocate for that at all. But I had no choice, and I was like, I have to do what I have to do.
yeah,
And that was what I had to do. So I went through the whole last 2 months of prep with everything feeling okay, apart from my shoulder. My calf was okay, but then the day I traveled to Sheffield Monday, like everything just hit. My calf, I mean, at the airport, I was literally limping on one leg because my calf was so painful, and I didn't understand how that happened because I went through the whole prep without a calf, hurting and stuff like that. So at Sheffield, I was like, I remember telling Joey, like, the steps I'm doing are not helping because my calf is just killing me. And so after Wednesday, when I did like a very light session, because I wasn't taking any anti-inflammatory because I also wanted to build off and then, do check it on the day of the competition. So it's more effective like that. So because when you take it for too long, I took it for 2 months straight. So it
Yeah.
started losing its effect. And then so I was like, I'm gonna taper down from it and then go all in on the day of the competition. So I did that, and after Wednesday, Joe is like, now you can be a couch potato, just be a couch potato. You don't have to move at all. So that's what I literally did. I did not even like explore shelter or anything. I was just literally like a couch potato, and so just at the evening before my competition, I took one ibuprofen, and then I took two before the competition got around. So everything was pretty normal. So I was like, I wasn't feeling no pain, and bench was surprisingly feeling so good until I failed my third attempt. I'm like, I shouldn't make that decision too easy. And I was like, oh, I'm starting to like bench again, but I said that too early on. I should have waited after my third attempt first.
Yeah.
But yeah, squat was just great. I misgrooved my second attempt and to 90.5. And it got to a little bit of a debate on what to do on the third attempt, which
Yeah.
ended up, I'm like, I had prepared for that 300 squat, and I think the platform, Sheffield platform, was where I had to do it.
Yeah.
So it was either I do it there or I don't do it anywhere else.
Yeah. It was pretty epic to watch being there, to see it. What was going through your head, walking out to lift that weight?
I think I had no doubt I could do it because that was not supposed to be my third attempt. I was supposed to do heavier than that.
Right.
So that was a compromise. And I was 100% sure. I had like no doubts that I was going to fail it. So the confidence I went on the platform for that squad was just like really. And I remember I looked up and I didn't see, there was like so many, I mean, there was so many people in that hall, but the only person I saw was Ben from SBN. That's the only one. And I saw how serious he was looking. I'm in my mind, I'm like, okay. That
And
was
then
the
what?
only one from all that crowd I saw was Ben.
Yeah.
And he was like so focused. And I'm like, okay, let's go. But the weird part was the fact that people asked me like how did it feel like, or how was it feeling, or how I mean, but for me in general, or what was I thinking when I was doing it? And I wasn't thinking about anything in particular. But the only which it's funny, but I was thinking not to be myself in front of 2,000 and something people. And it's don't get me wrong, it's normal. It's absolutely normal. And I did have like protection on because I always do that. And I remember coming off the bottom of the squad, and all I could think was like, "Oh shit, I'm being myself." Literally on the 300 kilo squad. I remember telling Christoph this, and he just didn't understand. Like I'm like, like it's stupid. I'm thinking about how I'm squatting 300 kilos, but that was the only thing I was thinking about. So
And how did it feel? Obviously, when you came up and they gave you the white lights, what was the feeling after that?
my legs were numb. I remember my legs were numb. And so I just couldn't stand on my legs, on my feet. And that's why I went down on my knees. But they were like literally numb for a second. So so I mean I had done that in training,
Yeah.
but doing that on that stage at Sheffield and having three white lights
Yeah.
was the thing is before the competition I had listened to a podcast to a guy that says that I don't squat to depth. And I was on King of the Lift on the Sheffield preview, I think it was. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I have never failed a squat on international platform because of depth.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird for someone to say that. knowing that, I mean, if you open my open powerlifting, you will see that I've never missed a squat on depth on internet on any internet. I have passed, you know, if they say if you pass the APF judges, you can, I mean, the referees, you can pass anyone.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have been there and I've done all of that. So in my mind, in the back of my mind, I thought about it. It didn't, I mean, impact me that well, but it was just a little bit like a surprise. Like, how is someone like, you know, it's always have that feeling like some people come to like this podcast just to nitpick on you or something like that. And I had that feeling a bit, but I was like, yeah, I brushed it off. And
Yeah.
I did my competition. So I was like, yeah.
Yeah. I think as well because you got three, white lights and got that weight, it's kind of anytime that there's that success there, people always want to try and pick at it. Whereas actually, for the
Yeah.
99% of the other people that either saw it there live, or have seen it since, is just want to just say like how great it was, what a really good achievement. Um, Obviously now post Sheffield, and we kind of touched on this a little bit at the start, kind of coming full circle, if you like. It was straight into Euros and then Worlds. What can we expect to see from you going forward?
You people should don't have your expectation too high. I can never please the internet. I can never do it. I remember it's like after World Championship and they started talking about Sonita is going to be the first woman to hit 200 kilos raw. And everything I posted, it was about 200 kilos. You know, it kind of took out from all the little journey and PRs I was making in between. Like I did 290 and I posted it and people like, yeah, I loaded 200 already. I did 295. I posted it. I'm like, yeah, where is the 200? Are you teasing us? That's why I mean, I went to the gym the day I did a 301. I didn't want to do it just because of like, I feel like because I don't have to do it because everyone else is expecting me to do it. And I don't like that.
Yeah.
But, but I wanted to do like 299.5. Literally, that's what I told Christopher. We're going to go there and load 299.5. I just want to piss everyone. But yeah, I couldn't do it because I like my followers. I like the fact that they do believe in me, and it's because they know that I'm capable of it. And so I know that I'm like, I'm gonna skip the 200, but I'm gonna do 201.
Yeah,
Because
nice.
I always feel like when you're too fixated on a number, it comes like with this calm around it. I don't know, like this bad voodoo around around it. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'm just gonna skip the 300 and we're gonna do 201, and I'm okay with that. And yeah, so it's just, and now after I did 200, after I did the 201, I posted it, and then I started hearing about 700 pounds. I'm like, what is even 700 pounds?
Yeah.
So I can never please the people. It's like I tried, I gave you guys 200 kilo squat. Enjoy it, just absorb it while it lasts.
Yeah, I think sometimes that you always see because you've achieved that. It's like, right, well, what's next? What's next on the
I
cards
know,
from that?
I know.
Which is exciting to see. I think at Sheffield it was like the most records that had ever been broken. So it's like everyone's looking for that next thing. I know we've chatted quite a lot there and a couple of tangents, but for everyone listening, whether it's athletes or coaches, we've spoken about competition, training, thoughts going into lifts. But
Mm.
what would be your take-home points or words of wisdom?
Ah, I have never thought about it, but the thing is, I'm always like more focused on empowering women. That is
Yeah,
my goal because the men, I mean, it's their war anyways, we're just trying to find our place in it. So I always encourage women to dare to do something different because I mean I have always been, my mom knows that I'm always the strong-headed one where I do everything different than a family normally would do. And so it's just I love taking risks and I love to challenge myself. I love to go out of my comfort zone. So I always just say dare to do something different.
yeah,
And yeah, and if you ask me about powerlifting, I'll say powerlifting is a sport where it prepares you physically and mentally to handle challenges out of the sport, so how to handle it, to tackle your life, your day-to-day life, hardships and all that stuff. So it's not only a sport where it ends in the gym, but it's something you can implement it. I mean, the mental thing and all the stuff you can implement it in your day-to-day life. So dare to try powerlifting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really good take home point and words of wisdom. I always think that, the strength that people can show in the gym can be reflected outside of it. It doesn't mean to say
Yeah,
picking stuff up outside of the gym or lifting stuff outside of the gym.
yeah.
But yeah, I think it's got a lot of benefits, not just physically, but mentally as
Mentally.
well,
Yeah,
which is why, I think a lot of people get involved with it. And I think that's why, or I like to think anyway, that the community side of it is like nothing, there's nothing really that matches it really.
yeah.
So thanks a lot for taking the time to jump on and chat with me today. If
Okay,
anyone
absolutely.
has if anyone has any questions about what we've chatted about today, see the content that you put out there, or reach out to you, where could people find you, or reach out to you?
Most of the time, just on my Instagram, and I'm Sonita underscore ML. So that's like Sonita Muluh. But if you type my full name, you'll see me. So you can always find me on Instagram. Facebook, I'm less busy on Facebook. I'm always on Instagram.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot for taking the time. Jump on, Sunita. Really, really enjoyed chatting with you today.
My
Thanks a lot.
pleasure.
Thanks a lot to everyone listening, and I will see you all next week.